So, what's the book about?
This is a book about book culture, about how books are made, how they circulate, and how they reach readers. Now, for all books, but especially bestsellers and international bestsellers, this happens through networks. Networks of people, of organisations, of companies. Frankfurt Book Fair, or the Frankfurter Buchmesse, is where these networks gather. Tens of thousands of people come together to do deals, yes, but also to form relationships that lead to deals down the track. It's a place where they articulate their values and where you can see the money flow. And for all of those reasons, anyone interested in contemporary book culture should closely examine the Frankfurt Book Fair.
Und warum ist die bedeutendste Buchmesse der Welt nun ausgerechnet in Frankfurt?
Why Frankfurt of all places? Well, there's a centuries-long history to this. Gutenberg was based just up the river at Mainz, and Gutenberg invented the printing press, bringing in some technologies that had already existed in China and elsewhere. And so Frankfurt has long been a place of economic interchange of first manuscripts and then printed books. But this very much accelerated and changed into the global enterprise that the Buchmesse now is, actually in the ashes of the Second World War. So building up the Buchmesse literally on the ruins of the city of Frankfurt was very much part of Germany's post-war reconstruction. Frankfurt is Germany's city of banking, but also it was being developed as a cultural centre at the same time, inviting publishers and those in the broader book world all over to fly in, to travel by train and car to Frankfurt. However, it wasn't an easy path, and there were rival book fairs in Germany as well as across the world, but Frankfurt has long established itself now as world leader.
What can you learn about the publishing industry from the fair?
Lots. You can learn about demographics of the industry, trends, what books are selling, and what books are people buying. You can learn about new digital innovations and about the issues that are really exercising the industry. But you can also learn about more subtle things like mood and power.
Tell us about your research methods.
The Ullapoolism, involving interviews and arts-informed autoethnographic methods, and included the fortune-telling miracle fish, the sleazometer, and Les Wiskel's The Frankfurt Kabuff.
What can Frankfurt tell us about the mood in publishing?
There are two moods in publishing, of optimism and pessimism. Optimism in our book relates to the size of the Frankfurt Book Fair, the bestseller buzz, to what we term negativity. But at the same time, pessimism and negativity are also endemic in the book world. Publishing is always in a state of crisis. Do people read books anymore? And these two forces, we argue, battle against each other.
But really, how big is the fair?
Well, it's big, but how big depends on how you measure it. So, over 300,000 people attended the book fair last year. But we noticed there was some kind of retraction physically, some spaces that seem to be shrinking. This year, the fair is virtual. It's happening online. That can feel like a loss, like a disappearance of space and size. But symbolically, it's still important, and it makes a big media buzz.
Is it just about books?
No, it's not just about books. Books provide the intellectual property that underpin many of the other cultural industries. So there are companies there scouting for film rights and television, in fact all sorts of subsidiary rights which are developed from books, so that's a very important part of the Buchmesse. There's also, over recent years, a substantial cosplay area which is developed at the fair, where people dress up as characters from all of their favourite cosplays, buy swords, etc., and get involved in various different activities.
What do people wear at the Frankfurt Book Fair?
It depends who they are. If they're a man, they're probably wearing a blue suit. If a young woman, maybe a colourful dress. The one thing you can count on if you go to the Frankfurt Book Fair for the first time is that someone will tell you to wear comfortable shoes. But what does that advice even mean? It's not as neutral as it sounds. That's the kind of power relations we wanted to unpack in this book.
What do people eat and drink at the Frankfurt Book Fair?
Champagne, or as we call it at the Buchmesse, Sekt.
One of the striking things about Frankfurt is the presence of canapes. You'll see them on trays, being wheeled on trolleys up and down the aisles of the Buchmesse, on their way to functions, parties, launches and other events. Canapes add to the party, dare I say, carnival atmosphere of the Frankfurt Book Fair. They're also a reminder of the glamour of the publishing industry. At the same time, canapes are a way to communicate, and you often see this in terms of the national distinctiveness of the canapes being offered by hosts. So you might see Guinness at the Irish Publishers Party, or the Australian Publishers Association stand offering Vegemite and toast. Canapes also exist on a continuum from standard to pretty fancy, and that's another way in which canapes are used to communicate as a form of business-to-business display.
What do the people and animals of Frankfurt think of the book fair? As the annual carnival that is the Buchmesse rolls into town, there's an uptick in the economy of the city of Frankfurt. Hotels are full, restaurants are bursting at the seams, shoe shops are busy. But at the same time, many of the people of Frankfurt, although they might well have a visit to the Buchmesse at the weekend, are perhaps not so bothered. We spoke to a set of people at Yok Yok City Kiosk who really weren't terribly interested at all. And we also know that in some suburb of Frankfurt, Jenny the horse strolls the streets, completely unconcerned until someone comes to make her a book deal to turn her story into an international bestseller.
How important is it for publishers to go to Frankfurt Book Fair?
What's important in publishing, in creating a successful book, is that people have built networks. Now that can happen at the Frankfurt Book Fair, and the kind of relationships that you form through having meetings in person or going out for a drink at one of the hofs afterwards, those relationships can last for decades. Meeting in person is a great way to build networks, but it's not the only way, and we can see so many different forms of communication happening now.
Do you think the book fair will happen next year?
Where can I buy this book, and how much does it cost?
Well, thank you for asking. You can buy the Frankfurt Book Fair and Bestseller Business or Business at all good bookshops, some bad ones, and directly from the Cambridge University Press website, where it's a mere snip at $9.99.
Or $18.69, or a different amount in a different currency.
What is the Frankfurt Book Fair?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's multi-layered.